Okay, so we are back with another episode of Biz Mindz, and on the podcast today we have Xavier and Rosario, the owners of XL Homes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you made, where you're from, and how you made your way to the Southwest Florida area.
You want to start?
You can start.
Well, I'm originally from Cuba. I came to the States in 2010, and I went to New York City, and I studied computer science. And I went to school there. I got my first job there. And eventually, we were introduced by my best friend from childhood. It happens to be his cousin from my hometown in Cuba. His mother's side of the family is from Guantanamo, Cuba, where I grew up. And so she introduced us, and that's how I moved to Naples. We got married shortly after getting to know each other. And I came here in 2018.
2018?
Yes. He had been living here pretty much since 96.
Wow.
When he moved here. He was actually born in New York as well. So we had a lot of things in common from our background and whatnot.
Yeah. So since 96,
I've seen Naples grow.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
Right.
It used to be a one-horse town when I moved here.
Wow. How did you, fast forwarding a little bit, how did you get into building homes?
I was always exposed to construction.
Okay.
My father was a contractor up in New Jersey. He moved down in 96, started up his construction company again in 2000. And from there, I was exposed to it all over again.
Yeah.
And then just continued. I love the way that, construction, how you take something that's nothing and convert something and make something out of it.
Right.
So that's where I started my passion for construction there. Every summer, I would work for my father. So during the summer, I would work for him to learn a little bit more. And when I graduated high school, I started working for him. 2 years down the road, I became his partner. And that's when it just grew for me. And I just started doing construction, loving it, and learning more about each trade and learning the new stuff and trying to stay up to date with everything as much as possible.
Yeah. How did with your dad being in construction and then you got into it, were there certain things that you took from it that maybe you thought I could do? Like, I can take this is a good thing that my dad is doing, or I could take this that's not so good and maybe fix it when I'm building.
There was always a lot of things that it was hit and miss. So basically, I took everything that I could from my father that I liked, but brought it up to today's standard, today's way of doing business, the way of doing work. But in essence, the work ethic is what I've always taken from my father. The thing that's lost mostly in most fields that I've noticed is the passion and love for what you do. And that's what I try to keep alive. We try to do every job that we do, just like my father showed me. Continue doing it with love, continue doing it with honor, to continue doing it that you're proud of the product that you put out. And that's what I've always taken from him, and I've always put that number one.
Yeah.
In all the jobs that we do. And it doesn't matter if it's a small job to a large job. We do it all. It's the same thing for us.
How was COVID for you guys on the building side with all the demand and everything?
So actually, starting COVID, that was in 2020, we got the news that we were expecting our first child. Up until that point, I was still working as a lead engineer for a tech firm in New York City, but I was working from home. So I was used to the working from home dynamic. Xavier, on the other hand, he had a big setback because pretty much all the supplies were affected, and even the manpower. A lot of people were obviously in lockdown mode. and he had to overcome that challenge. Back then, we were not working. I wasn't working with him. So I that was like my first opportunity to learn about the business. And because I was home with him most of the time, I was able to help him in a way to figure things out. We worked together. We brainstormed together on how to overcome the supply chain issues that we had, how we could perhaps order a lot of material ahead of time and store it in our shop, do things that will end up in saving us delays that we faced during that time. It was very challenging, especially because I wasn't used to having him at home. I was at home alone by myself all the time with our dogs, and I was doing my job, and then he was there all the time. And I said, listen, you just have to go outside to the backyard, do a project, do something, because I really don't know what is to like have you here all the time. Most of the time we were just really scared because we just found the news that I was pregnant, and we were terrified that I will get sick and something will happen to our baby. So it was like a lot of internal emotions and stuff that we had to deal with back then. But we really took that time for me to learn about his business and how everything operated. And I think that was a really good learning experience for me personally.
Yeah, and we were talking off cameras, and you said that it's a risky business, right? What are some setbacks? Will you say that maybe happened?
During COVID, it was the setback the most was getting materials. So we had to brainstorm. We had to get together, because it used to be that you could pick up the phone, order any material. 48 hours, 72 hours, you'd have the material there in most cases. It got to a point where you had to strategize, you had to think ahead of schedule, you had to organize to not be so delayed. So what we ended up doing was we brainstormed, and basically we converted our shop into the hub, and everything that we needed that could delay us, we would order them in bulk and in advance. It got to a point where I was traveling the whole state of Florida, going from vendor to vendor, from supply house to supply house, seeing what they have available, what they would sell me, and just buying in bulk. One of the major setbacks was a concrete block for us. And I would literally drive to the manufacturers who's building and say, how much block are you willing to sell us? And they would look at me and say, how much can you take? And I go, how much can you sell us? And they would go, X amount. And I'd say, fine, start delivering. They were delayed also because they didn't have drivers. We would have to coordinate with a third party to come and do the delivery for us. And we would have truckloads and truckloads of block, lino beam, concrete bags, sand bags. We'd have tile. We'd have all the windows for the models that we were doing. The models that we were doing at the time, we would duplicate them and say, okay, where you have on the pipeline, we have 10 houses, X models. We'd order all the windows in advance and store them there. We'd have drywall. We'd have paint. Everything you can possibly imagine. Yeah. It's how we did it to stay within reason of the timeline. It was just a hard, difficult moment for me to adapt in a blink of an eye, right, and say, hey, you can't do like you used to do and just pick up the phone and ask for this. You have to think ahead and say, when are you going to need this? When are you going to need that? How much of it? And have enough to, if something were to happen, you can always fix it or whatever. So it was very difficult for me for doing something in a routine for so many years and all of a sudden just having to adapt. But thankfully we brainstormed together. We learned to overcome this situation, and it was a learning experience because it helped me see that, everything in life isn't easy. Everything in life is not just because you have a routine going, just because you have something going, you have to adapt quickly. And that's the part that really, the challenge that made us feel great was that we were able to adapt quickly.
And you're not in control, right?
And you weren't in control. I mean, that was the main thing, that I had no control over it. And things that I've never done in my life, I was doing it. just to make sure I was on schedule, just to make sure I was, putting out a product also.
And how were the clients reacting to that? Because their houses were taking longer than expected to be built.
Yes, it was very challenging.
Some of them were very understanding. Some of them were not as understanding.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the goal was finish their house as soon as possible with the same quality, same standards that we've always put out. And that was ultimately, we made our goal. Right. With some delays and some hiccups along the road.
That's always going to happen, right?
Right.
Yeah. Along the way, we try to keep everyone up to date with whatever was going on.
Communication makes
100%.
Everything better.
Yes, and we try to explain to our clients. And here's the thing, and COVID was a great deal for everyone. Mm-hmm. Growing up in a country where you don't have basic necessities, mm-hmm. you kind of get used to not having things. Mm-hmm. And so I was brought up until I was 21 years old. I lived in a country where sometimes I didn't have to eat, mm-hmm. or I didn't have the shoes I needed to go to school. And I just had to learn to deal with it. My parents did the best they could to feed me and keep me alive, but there were times that they had to sacrifice themselves so that I could have a pair of shoes. And so, but when you are in a country like this, grateful that we lived here, and you start not seeing basic necessities, like you don't see toilet paper when you want it, or mm-hmm. Paper towel or hand sanitizer, it was a moment of shock mm-hmm. for a lot of people because they have never been in that situation, mm-hmm. and they just couldn't reason, why is this not happening? Why is my house not done? Why am I being delayed? Mm-hmm. So it was challenging at a lot of different levels for our clients and for ourselves, even how to explain it to them, how to put it in words, because it was something they could never believe it could happen, but it did mm-hmm. happen very quickly. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely a moment of stress for us, for sure.
Yeah. Did you feel that going through all that made your business even stronger? Because now you can face whatever comes to you?
It sounds pretty accurate. I feel that definitely made us very prepared. Mm-hmm. We learned to be more prepared. And now we are like always in planning mode, mm-hmm. even if thankfully there won't be any COVID or any other virus like that ever again. But we learn how to adapt.
Well, even when hurricanes come, right? Mm-hmm. That delays your process.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like for, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like for Cubans, it's hard to tell them I'm struggling or this is hard, because there's, we were actually traveling not too long ago, and we were selling in front of Cuba, and the ocean was very mm-hmm. it was tough, and we're thinking, right, because there's a lot of people that come from Cuba, and like a lot of things came to mind. This is crazy, mm-hmm. And then Cubans get here and change their whole life around. Like they don't stop working. They at least all the Cubans I met have a very strong personality, like in the sense, in the good way, like, no, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and very confident, which I love people that are very confident, but if you think more about it, you will think the other way, right? Because it's a country that's oppressed, right? And you will think that everybody will be more laid back or feel like that. But no, everybody comes, you guys are so hungry when you get here, and I love that.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like this topic a lot. So do you think that that's a big driver for you guys in motivating you to just keep prospering and doing better? Do you think that's a big driver?
Definitely. I mean, Xavier was born in the States, but he has been exposed to his whole life to all the struggles that people from Cuba have to go through, and I lived it, and I still have majority of my family living in Cuba and struggling. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a big motivator to first of all, do good by people. At whatever level it is, we always try to do good by others. That's my motto, my personal motto, though. Do good by others no matter what. Sometimes you do good and nothing comes back, but you don't do good to expect anything back. You do it because that's who you are. And so it helps you to put things into perspective as well. And, going back to what you mentioned before, each person has different situations, and what it means to struggle for one person, it might mean nothing for another person. So I feel like putting yourself in everyone's shoes and understanding, okay, this might not mean anything to you, but for someone else it does. And there are cases that we've had, like remodeling work, and you think that the client is asking for something a little irrational in a way, but if you put yourself in their shoes, you understand that it means a lot to them.
Yeah.
It might mean something little to you on your sense of seeing things, but it means a lot to that client. So I feel that it's helped us to understand other people. And even when we think it's something small, but they see it as something big, it's helped us to pretty much be able to navigate these things. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, we're from Peru, and we always, growing up, you hear, come to the States and go to college to be successful. What are your thoughts overall? I know you went to New York, correct? What do you think that, what's your thoughts on that? And what if I was, let's say, somebody that came to you two and I asked you, hey, I want to be successful. How do I do it from a financial standpoint? Like what would your advice be to somebody, let's say to me?
So I didn't go to college. I was right off the bat, graduated high school, started working with my father, and then became his business partner. And I learned the trade. Do I feel that's the right way to do it? No, because I was always exposed to it, so I always had it there. That was my college. I still feel that someone should go to college and continue with college because you learn a lot of things in college that's going to help you to succeed in your business. Is it mandatory? No. It just makes it a little bit harder when you don't, because I've seen in my experience where I've had to learn a lot of things. Not having that higher education has not held me back, but it's just made it a little bit harder for me to continue to make it, to get to the next level. With that being said, I do feel that at least some higher education is needed to help you, because simple things, writing an email. You can't just write an email, hey dude, hey bro. You have to know proper punctuation so they know that you're serious about it. Just simple things like that. You're going to learn quicker in higher education in college than you will by yourself, trying and making mistakes, and someone rectifying and say, oh, you wrote this email wrong, or just simple things like that. So I do feel that higher education does make it easier for you to continue. But the most important thing that you have to have is the drive. I feel that you can train yourself and you can learn anything you want, but if you don't have the drive for it, if you don't have the passion, if you don't have the love for it, it's just going to be a simple job for you. It's not going to be something that you're going to love doing. It's not something that you're going to, I want to make money in construction. Do you want to make money in construction, or do you love construction that you're going to do it great and it's just going to come easy to you? It's going to come natural to you. That's the difference. That's why I see when people succeed in different fields and different trades, they love what they do and they're passionate about it. And that's why they succeed, is because of the passion and the love that they have for it. You can have all the success in the world, but if you don't love what you're doing, you're just working.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for studying. I spent like 7 years. I went to school in Cuba. I studied 3.5 years, came here, had to do a lot over again. It was so hard because I didn't even speak English. Imagine being in a class where you don't understand fully what it's being taught. And then the professor and most of my teachers were from other lands that themselves, they had accents when they spoke English. So I was like in an algorithm class with a teacher from China, and amazing professor, but I couldn't even grasp what he was actually saying. So it was very challenging. I had to just go there, not look around, just pay attention, try to grasp as much as I could, then go home and self-teach in a way, everything all over again, write my own notes. I think it was the most challenging thing I ever done. But I feel that training, it's what makes you stronger or ready for bigger challenges, and not just academically, but in life. It really shapes you. But going back to what Xavier said, I feel like whenever you're picking a career or whatever it is that you're doing, you can be really smart, but if you don't put the work and the effort and your ethics into what you're doing, it won't get you anywhere. I had friends at school that were a lot smarter than me, but they never really put the effort to complete the effort, that push that you have to really get yourself through that step of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to complete this class, even if it's the hardest thing. Even if I don't get an A, it doesn't matter. I'm going to try to just finish it. And that is where I feel that that's the most important thing, that you set a goal and you work towards that goal and you complete that, whatever it is that you decide to do.
Yeah. To me, it gives me a different perspective. I don't know why, when I see couples building together. How important it is for both of you to be,
because it's hard.
Doing what you
Oh, yes.
It's definitely hard.
It's outside of the norm.
Yes.
To work with family,
Live with family.
Yes.
Like it's outside of the norm. Usually the normal thing is everybody goes and does their thing and then comes back.
Going into that topic, when I got pregnant with our second child, with our daughter, that's when I really considered to work together. He had a lot of work and he had a lot to do, and he needed to hire somebody. And we thought about, okay, what are the qualifications and requirements of this job position that you need to hire? And we started like writing down each and every one of them. And as I was writing down those qualifications, I said,
that's me. I can do it.
I'm the woman for the job. And
I said no.
Xavier said no. Xavier said, no way, we're not going to work together. And so one of the things I think that I pride on what we do, like when we're going to make major decisions like that, we always call people that we think will give us honest advice, that they've been there or they've been exposed to it. And we called few of those people that we consider will give us honest advice. And all of them said, go for it. Even my boss at the company that I worked for, I told her, I was flat out, listen, I'm considering doing this. And she was so supportive. We are friends up to this day. And she said, you should totally go for it. You are going to do so great. You're going to succeed at it. And you're going to love it. You'll see. And I'm not going to lie, first few months or year working together was very challenging.
But we've learned to work is work and life is life. We don't mix the two together. What happens in the office stays in the office, and that's it. We don't bring any tension, because as business partners, there's always going to be tension. So because I'm stubborn and I want things done my way because I'm used to it, and then she reasons with me, or vice versa. She wants to do something, and I tell her, no, it's not the right time. This is what we have to do to continue. And we get mad at each other. We get frustrated, but ultimately, once the day's over, we're home. It's like nothing ever happened, and that's was the hardest part. Learning to do that, learning to separate life and business life into two different lives. So what happens outside of the household is business. what happens in the household is real life. It's home. It's everything. So that was our major, I would say, hurdle, but we both learned to overcome it. We both learned to adapt to it. We both learned to continue with it. And that's how we've seen it grow in our business. We've seen the business grow once we stop with all the little petty issues and, you did this or you said that. And you're my business partner and that's it. Mm-hmm. That's how we see it. And that's how we've been able to adapt and have been able to continue with the business and been able to grow the business.
Yeah. And it's, I think it's better actually. You have that person next to you that you can trust, you can fully trust.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's always necessary in business.
Yes.
Because I can't be in all places at one time. She can't be in all places at one time. And so knowing that you have the support of someone that's there for you, that's not, looking with a greedy eye, looking only for their interest, it helps out a lot.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I agree 100%. And we were talking a little bit about, this interview for us is super important because we just met today, or at least I don't know if you guys met them today. So, and I already knew you guys are great people just because, we talked a little bit about the hurdles of COVID with the construction industry. And then I feel like these last 3 or 4 years have just been crazy, right? Just back to back, hurricane, COVID, hurricane, and then the fire that happened, which is crazy. Now that I think about that, I don't even remember how long ago. Oh yeah, last year, yeah.
March,
March,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
March 3rd.
That was wild, right? That type of fire. And I do want to kind of talk about that a little bit. And I want to tell you both, thank you so much for what you guys did. And our whole family appreciates you guys a lot. It was a very difficult time. And, for those watching, the fire in Naples happened. And one of the 3 houses, I believe, that you guys built was our sister's home. It was our sister's home and it burned down. And what's tough about that situation is it was their home that they waited for, right? Mm-hmm. It was, they moved from the East Coast and that home felt like every little plant had like a name or something because they just loved it so much. And it, it burned down in the fire. And you guys, is it okay if I touch on this a little bit? Okay. You guys decided to help them out a lot and rebuild it for them, and we're so grateful. And I just want to kind of touch on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think it shows a lot the type of people you are, and that's the way you do business. So I just want to say thank you both so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Xavier and I both cried so much that day.
When I got the phone call, a friend of mine called me up and says, "Hey, we just got an alarm. There's a fire at the corner of your house." So I rushed quickly over there. When I saw everything, when we were able to meet up and we see where the fire is at, we see everything. The first instant was the house. We called them up and we were like, "Hey, what's going on?" They told us, "No, we're out. We're good." And that's when we kept in contact with them and we're like, "Look, they're not letting us get close to your property, but as soon as we can, we will." We actually walked over, talked to one of the lieutenants. Rosie went there and she was escorted by one of the firefighters and one of the lieutenants, and they actually took her there and she...
Yeah, I was on the phone with Pia. All the time we were talking back and forth and I was telling her, "Listen, don't worry about it. Your house is going to be fine. I promise." Trying to give her and myself the hope that it was going to be fine. And so, but when I got there and I saw the house burned down completely to the ground, it was such a difficult time. I mean, we both Pia and I broke in tears crying. And it was... You mentioned your sister and Eric, they put so much love into that house. And when we build the house and we see that the people who live on it love it, and we stayed in touch with them, and every time they would do any little something to it, they would send us pictures and say, oh, look, we extended the terrace and now we have pavers here and the kids are playing here and we planted these trees or these flowers and we did this fence and all of that. And you could see the love that Eric and Pia had for their home. And we got to know them. We got to know their kids and we got to build a relationship with them. And when I saw that house burned down, it was more than just a house. It was something that I knew the furniture inside. I knew the artwork. I knew how they had changed the garage to do the gym. I knew everything about that home. And so it felt very devastating. And me having to tell Pia that and having to show her firsthand what had happened was very difficult for me to do. And all I could tell her was, listen, we're going to get through this. I understand that no life was taken and everyone was safe, but when you lose everything, absolutely everything, a lot is taken. It's not the material things, and it is the material things because it takes a toll on you as well, but it's more of your spiritual. Your home is in a way, I feel like your temple. You go home, you are there with your family. It means a lot to people to lose.
It's your sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To lose it. And so
everything that you buy has a meaning, especially the kids. And Pia had a lot of things when Max was first born, and that really impacted her a lot too.
Yes. So that was one of the hardest things. And we spoke to the firefighters. I remember walking back home that day. I walk from their home to my house. We are neighbors too. And walking back home, and I got home and I started crying nonstop. And my mom said, but how did that happen? I said, no, I don't understand, but it happened. Everyone at home, my mom, my kids, my uncle, my aunt, everyone was there, and they're like, I can't believe this. We were very sad. We felt a big loss when we saw that tragedy happening. Yeah.
And we got a call from my mom, and the call was like, and I'm laughing, but it's not, but the call, the reason why is, you look back at it and, my mom's like, Pia's house is on fire. And that was the whole call. And we're like, we had no idea, are they in there? Are they not in? We rushed.
She hung up.
And she hung up. And we're like, Jesus, like we have no idea what's going on. So it's a surreal, moment and experience. You would never think that would happen to anyone, and then when it happens to your family, it's like, wow. I think it just goes to show that you don't ever own anything in this lifetime.
Yeah.
No matter how we talk about this a lot, and no matter how successful you are in every sense of the word, you don't ever really own anything. And I think that experiences like that, in a longer vision, are a blessing because they give you different type of perspective and more meaning to simple things like family, better values, so on and so forth. But it's just interesting because sometimes I think you get caught up so much in the day-to-day. Being a business owner, you're always putting out fires, you're always fixing things. That kind of becomes your life, right? And it just gives you more perspective. Like, don't get so lost in the game sometimes, because it could consume you all the time, business. But yeah, I did want to just touch on that a little bit, and I wanted to say, again, thank you both so much.
We're very happy that we are in a position that we can help. And I remember when we got together that night, there was no power. They cut the power because of the fire, obviously. And Xavier and I were at home, and we talked among ourselves. And it was a moment of both of us said together, we're going to help them out. It was something that we didn't even have to
think?
No, we didn't have to think it. It just came out. We're gonna do this. We're gonna help them out as much as we can. And then the very next day, we met there with them, with Pia and Eric, and we cried. And we told them, listen, we're just gonna help you out. This is gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I remember it was all over the news. And besides the rebuilding, you guys did things that when, like, we kept getting information from Eric, and we were just so thankful with you, because the way you proceed on every step of the way after what happened, where because it was all over the news and people were trying to go in there, you guys said, we're going to put a gate here, and you did it. I think those are the little things that really make the difference in people when they take ownership and for others. So and then we kept getting more information. Then you went to go look for their personal belongings with them. Like, you took the time to do that. Not a lot of people do that, and to us as a family, that's very valuable. With the podcast, with the businesses that we own, we were able to meet. Like, it's been a blessing this year. Honestly, like, we've met so many great people, and we were just waiting for the right moment to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, like, we're very thankful as a family. I think you guys are great people. I think you guys are gonna do extremely well in every aspect. And yeah, I mean, we're happy to have you close to the family. We really do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
really
you.
do.
And I feel that in today, business is the trending topic. Everybody wants to be in business, or a lot of people want to get into business because there's so many things that trend about the upside of business, but never all the stuff that goes on really behind the scenes in a business, and all the stress that it comes with, and so on and so forth. That it's great to have great people in business, because it's something that trends. Everybody wants to get into it for $1. There's a new demand for a certain type of industry. You have people from any other industry getting involved, and it blurs lines sometimes. But when you have business owners, we talk about this a lot. It starts from the top, all the way from the business owner to the employees to the customer service. The whole thing, I believe, starts from the top. So if you have great people at the top, it relates and trickles down to everybody that's involved within that business. So it is great to have great people in business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just as you are thankful, we are thankful as well. And I always tell Eric and Pia that they are a blessing to us. And how many years we've been talking, we want to do a website that looks like this, and we want to put this idea into it, and we want to do a graphic that looks like this. But because we lack the time, mostly, we never had a person that really sat down and said, look, we're going to do this together. I'm going to guide you through it. And Eric has been a fantastic aid to us. I feel that he is actually a bigger blessing to us than we are to them. And it sounds very cheesy, but I always message them. We have a group, the four of us, and we have a Morales Excel Homes. And I always message them how thankful we are. They message us how thankful they are. And it becomes a very thankful message of back and forth.
That's great, though. I feel like we need more of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit. Do you want to touch on anything before I go into these?
Yeah, just one last thing. I don't know if you can share a little bit on where we're at with the home now after some months.
So we finally got all the design plans. We basically did the same house with a few modifications, things that they wanted to do in the future. So I said, now's the time. Let's just make the changes now. We'll do them on the blueprint. So with a little bit back and forth, we hit all their trigger points, what they wanted to knock out. So we've got all the permitting approved. We've got the pad already done, and then we are now in the process of underground plumbing and waiting on inspection for that. And then we're going to continue with the home. Now after the holidays, we're going to continue with it at full steam, full steam ahead to knock it out as quick as possible.
Well done.
Finally.
And
We've all lived the process.
where do you guys see XL Homes 5 years from now?
Want to say that?
I think it's challenging, especially as a person who was never a business owner, and then I'm thrown into this. I think that I see us probably doing commercial work. We've had few opportunities that we've been exploring, and that's something that fascinates Xavier. I think
Very
that
cool, man.
yeah. I think that that's where we're headed. Perhaps we're definitely going to continue doing residential. It's a lot of managing of expectations and all of that, but I love it. I love it. I think that's the fuel for me. I need to talk to clients. I need to get their input. I need to know what colors they like. I need to know what they're looking to achieve. I love that. That's really what I love the most about my job. But I hope that we are able to continue growing. But as we grow, keep our quality, keep our standards very high, improve them for sure, and just open to more commercial business.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys some rapid fire questions. These are pretty random questions. They're just fun, random questions. You could answer, you could skip it, no right or wrong answers. So we'll just get right into it. And
her first, and then
or just I'll have both of you give your
Answer.
answer. Yeah, the same question. Okay. What digital or software tools do you use daily to make your life easier?
QuickBooks.
Do you count? Because I always reference her for everything. Because I'm always out in the field. It's just, hey, babe, what do you have for this? Where's this? Where's that?
I would say you want to say WhatsApp. It's crazy how that has helped us.
Yeah.
Because we create groups for each and every one of the homes, and any quick information for that specific project goes into that group.
we do the same thing with our clients. We have a group for each one.
Yeah.
It's just quicker.
Yeah. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
If you can only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Steak.
Pork.
I love food. I don't know.
You love tuna tartare?
I do, probably that.
Yeah.
Tuna tartare.
Do you prefer winter or summer?
Summer.
Winter.
What is your favorite holiday?
I don't know. I think I love the fall. So the season really is my favorite. Yeah, we're both fall lovers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to relax at the beach or pool?
Beach.
Beach.
Fifth Ave or Mercado?
Fifth Ave.
Fifth Ave.
If you can only work 2 hours a week, what would you do in those 2 hours?
If I can only do one?
If you can only work 2 hours a week, what would you do in those 2 hours?
I will follow up on all my leads.
I'd hit up all of my job sites.
A book you'd recommend to read?
The Little Prince. It's a children's book, but if you read it when you're 10, and then you read it when you're 20, and then you read it when you're 30, you're always going to get something meaningful out of it.
Okay, I love that. If you can have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
That's a hard one.
This always makes people think.
I would say Andrea Bocelli. He's my favorite singer. I'm a lover of music, so definitely him. How about you?
The only one that comes to mind right now in this moment, and I know I'm gonna hit a few nerves. Donald Trump, because of the real estate.
Because of real estate.
Because of real estate, he came from nothing, built up, lost it, built it up again. How?
Yeah.
How did he do it? I would love to learn from him. I would love to sit down with him and find out how he did it. And I know there's a bunch of other people who have done it, but he's the most popular one.
Yeah. What's your favorite restaurant in Naples?
We are foodies. Sea salt.
Sea salt? I have to go. Have you guys been? I've never
Have the tuna tartare.
Yeah, I would say sea salt.
Sea salt?
Yep.
When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind?
My kids and Xavier.
Well, you put it very hard for me.
I'll just second that.
If you can choose any other career path, what would it be?
I probably will be an attorney.
Attorney?
You'd be pretty good. I don't know.
You always talk about being a cop.
I've always thought about being, working law enforcement.
I can see you as a cop pulling over and just putting tickets.
What's been your best investment?
My best investment emotionally, it's been marrying him. Best thing ever happened to me.
Man.
Next question, I'll go first. I would say the same. Investing in us, investing in our family, and investing not to sound cheesy, but investing in ourselves, putting time into working it. And nothing's easy, especially marriage, especially running a business. Nothing's easy, but putting in the effort, putting in the investment into us was always the best thing that's happened, because we learn from it, and you learn to grow with it.
What's a bad piece of advice you've heard people telling others?
Sell your real estate.
Don't do something. When they tell you don't do it, realistically, I always ask, where's the advice coming from? Is it someone that's in the field, or is it someone that's just giving an opinion?
Right.
That's what it is.
What does success look like to you?
I feel that it's a moderate amount of volume of work. Not too much, not too little. When it's too much, it can be messy. Health, peaceful, and always family first.
Yeah, success for me is you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have love, if you don't have a family to come home to, there's nothing. There's no reason why having all that wealth. So success for me is having a family, a loving family that you can come home to, and it's, you have your daughter and your son running up to you and say, "Mommy, Daddy," having a wife, having family, close family there that you can, live the success together. That's to me is a definition of success.
Yeah.
My last one.
You're gonna.
Can money buy happiness?
But nope. This is a very tricky question. So we like to think that this is a question that is not a yes or no, but it needs an explanation. So do you think money buys happiness?
No. Money makes everything easier, but it doesn't buy happiness. Just because you have money doesn't make you be loved, doesn't make you a good person, doesn't make you a bad person. No, it just, when you have money, your true roots, your true personality come out. So if you're a good person with or without money, you're going to be a good person. If you're a bad person with money or without money, it's going to come out. But with money, it's easier to show your true colors.
So
it's going to maximize who you are.
Yeah. I feel that obviously you need money to cover your health, and it does buy you health up to a certain point, because if you're sick and you need to see a doctor, you obviously need money to pay for it. But I feel like ultimately it's how you use your money what makes you happy or not. You can have a lot of money and be very unhappy.
Have you ever buy happiness when you were happy already with money?
Yes. Yes, you can make other people happy if you're happy already. And
It's a tool. It's a tool, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tool. It's a tool.
Love that.
Love it. Thank you both so much for your time
Thank you.
today.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Really
guys.
appreciate it. Thank you guys
Appreciate
for
it.
everything.